In the previous videos, I transmitted the return of the divine feminine and the return of the divine masculine. So it's only right that I devote this video to the divine union. Now, there's many different ways I can share this divine union. And I want to speak to different aspects of the divine union. Let's start off with the division that is experienced. Now, I spoke to this somewhat in both the return of the divine feminine and the return of the divine masculine. And to recap on some of that, to help lead us into this divine union, I will outline and express some of the division that's experienced. When the divine feminine is not expressed and it's being suppressed, then life is dry. It becomes lifeless. It's restricted, controlled. It becomes mechanical. It's not sweet. It doesn't have the juice. She is emotionally numb, disconnected from her feelings. She is chaotic, overwhelmed, reactive. She's cut off from her intuition. Her inner guidance. She's not open. She's closed. She's not receptive. She's not sensitive. She lacks sensuality, grace, surrender, the ability to flow, to be that flow. And likewise, when the divine masculine is suppressed or absent, it's as if he's on retreat somewhere else. But really it's this passivity. He's not stepping up. He hasn't risen into leadership. He's scattered, not focused, all over the place. Overthinking, constantly doubting himself, hesitation, lacks vision, has no sense of direction, feels lost. He's not accountable. He's flaky. He avoids responsibility. He lacks initiative. He doesn't feel worthy. He's seeking power instead of embodying power. He lacks order, structure. He's not disciplined. He has no sense of purpose in his life. So, those are just a few examples to paint you the picture of, we could say, the absence or the division of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, their absence or their suppression. Really, it's when they're unconscious and there's the lack of embodiment. Because to really experience the union is about embodiment. This is where these two aspects of the same energy, the one energy, is experienced as the dance of life. And the dance of life is what we call duality. And in duality, we experience polarity. Now, this polarity is actually depolarized when there's this inner division. When there's this inner division, we don't experience the balance and the harmony of these two poles of energy, the masculine and the feminine. So, what this may look like is, let's say, for a man, he is in the distorted masculine, or it's as if he's absent. His true self is not embodied. It's not showing up. So this looks like a passive father, a passive leader. It actually doesn't look like leadership at all. It looks like an absent father, avoiding responsibility, hiding, always on the run. He's not rooted in himself. Might look like a man that thinks he's traveling the world, but he's really on the run. Wears the disguise of a nomad, but it's really someone who's not rooted in his masculinity. One lacks the discipline, the consistency, the purpose. This is expressed or suppressed in the example of lack of meaning in one's life. Doing something that's sort of meaningless, their job, there's no aliveness to it. There's no sense of purpose. There's no sense of honor, duty, responsibility. So it just feels pointless, mechanical, just going through the motion without feeling that love, that devotion, that heart behind one's career, job, whatever you're creating, building. When the masculine's not embodied, the feminine doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel protected. She doesn't feel honored. She doesn't feel held. The masculine holds the feminine through his containment, his boundaries, his structure, his order. It all holds the feminine so she can flow, express beauty, open, radiate. When the masculine is absent from his post, it's like there's no leader, there's no direction, there's no structure, there's no order. The feminine then reacts to this by going into survival mode. She doesn't really want to lead, but she is forced to, because the masculine is not leading. So she takes the lead. She starts controlling. This is not really her forte, let's call it. So through micromanaging, controlling, over-planning, she becomes hardened, rigid. She's not her soft self. Her rigidness makes her stubborn, set in her ways. Her hardness makes her life difficult because she hasn't softened into her essence, allowing her to surrender to the flow, allowing her to surrender to the flow of her heart, where she can be guided intuitively, allowing her to nurture, nourish herself and those around her. Because she resists the flow, she is suppressed, never speaking up, expressing herself verbally, emotionally, physically. Any form of expression. Creativity is her expression. So she lacks that creativity in her life. She doesn't feel honored, included in the vision of the masculine, if the masculine's not even present. With that clarity of vision, without being led, directed, being held, feeling safe, secure, stable. She doesn't trust the masculine. She feels that she needs to do it all. So she's stuck in this pattern of overworking, doing too much. She doesn't allow herself to relax, to rest, because she doesn't feel the masculine's containment that can hold her chaos, hold all of her emotions, allow her to flow as she is. She doesn't feel his capacity. So you can see how this depolarization is really this division within. The masculine suppresses the feminine. He doesn't allow her to flow. He doesn't allow her to open, express, radiate. He doesn't honor the emotions. He doesn't honor the beauty, revere the beauty. He doesn't make space for the beauty in the ordinary moments of life. He's always on the run, trying to get to the next thing. Running from himself like a coward. Doesn't have the courage to simply be with himself, to look in the mirror and face his fear. This division within is almost like the two aspects of energy at war with each other, not in right relationship with one another. One fighting for control, the other suppressing, trying to dominate the feminine trying to compete against the masculine, fighting for equality, sameness. And this is not about sameness. It's about right relationship. It's about unity. It's about honoring the differences in the expression of the masculine and the feminine. And it's through seeing that, seeing that from the perspective of the whole, that you see that these two aspects of the one energy are actually complete and whole. And they're just simply two expressions of the one energy. When we see it as one is better than the other, then we experience what we experience when we're experiencing separation, this division. It's like they're divorced. And the energies compete instead of complement each other. So the divine union is actually experiencing the repolarization which is restoring the polarity of the masculine and feminine. When we come into right relationship with the masculine and feminine, we see from the perspective of wholeness the beauty of the dance of life, where this polarity is life in its fullness, life in its wholeness, life in its completeness. And really, this is what is lived as the divine union. It's embodied. It shows up in all aspects of your life. It starts within. Because you are whole, you are complete. These two aspects of you are integrated and embodied. And you then experience the divine union in every different aspect of your life. You see how that sacred marriage within is actually reflected in your marriage with your partner. You see that divine union within being expressed in your family, with your kids. You see that repolarization, the balance, the harmony expressed through your business beautifully. So this is not just about a relationship with your significant other, attracting the opposite sex or gender. This is more than that. Often it gets reduced to just a relationship. But this is about the right relationship between masculine and feminine, which is expressed in everything, as everything. You see that if you aren't embodying your masculine in its fullness, then you can't rise as a leader and serve from your heart in your business. You don't have that sense of purpose. You don't have the clarity of a vision to direct your community. You don't have the initiative to structure and contain an offering. Likewise, if you're not embodying your feminine in its fullness, you don't have the inspiration that comes from within, because you're not open and receptive and surrendered to follow your heart. You won't be in touch with the creative impulse that arises from the womb of creation that wants to birth beauty. You won't have the ability to see past the conditioning of those you serve and connect to the essence that radiates from beyond the conditioning. You won't have that connection to nurture a community. Now, these are just some examples, as you can see, of how this shows up in a business. Marriage, when the divine masculine is not integrated, it's not embodied, then you will see your lack of decision, being indecisive, will then be an issue. Hello. To your partner. If she feels that you're indecisive, she won't feel safe. She won't trust you. She'll feel like you're drifting in life. And she won't want to follow that lead. Because quite frankly, there is no lead. She wants to be led in rhythm so she can dance to the beat of the divine heart. To feel this union is to feel the shared heart in your marriage. Your stillness, your silence is the peace that she longs for. She'll feel like being in your presence is a homecoming. You will feel like home to her. Your honor, your reverence will reflect her worth. She won't feel unworthy. She won't feel like she has to prove herself or earn her value. She will start softening and open up more and more and want to express herself more and more. Her playful side, her radiant side will start coming through more and more. This will also bring back her aliveness, the sweetness of devotion. She'll be able to taste the juiciness of life. It won't feel dry anymore. It will feel alive, sweet and juicy. She'll feel pleasurable, sensual. Her senses will be alive, heightened, rich. Ecstatic, bursting with life itself. She'll want to curate, cultivate a beautiful environment. She'll want to bring that beauty into the home, whether through music or dancing, cooking, any form of creativity, any form of art. So your marriage becomes more beautiful when she is expressing her feminine essence, when she's embodying her feminine essence. The simple things. Might go to a restaurant and it's what she prefers, the music, the atmosphere, the environment is all just more and more beautiful. The design, the decor of your home, the colors, the ability to express herself beautifies the home. Her nurturing qualities, taking care of the kids, really guided by her motherly instincts, expressing such care without abandoning herself, without burning out. She's not getting overwhelmed by the chaos, because the chaos has calmed and is held by the masculine presence, the masculine order. Example of family life, children. The father that's experiencing himself as the divine union is emotionally available for his children. He has that capacity to hold the emotions, not try and control them, and not try and suppress them, and also not run from the discomfort, but he has the capacity to contain the storm, to stand with them in the fire. He's grounded, he's stable, he's secure, he's present. He shows them that he's not running from them. He's not running away in the heat of the moment. He's here to stay. They feel his presence. It makes them feel safe. And he has that soft side. He's a man with heart. He's both disciplined and devoted. And they feel his discipline as devotion. They feel his boundaries, his consequences coming from respect and honor, clarity, that sees their true potential, that calls them forth and asks them to rise. In living truth. He's able to connect with them. He has a good relationship with his kids. He's nurturing. He nourishes them with his art, with his cooking, with his gardening. They don't experience a rigid, stubborn man. He's not bitter. He's not resentful. He's not angry at the world. When they're with him, they can feel his softness. But he also is strong in his tone, in his firmness, in his boundaries. They respect him because he doesn't cave, he doesn't collapse, he doesn't run. He's a man of standards. He knows his worth. He's not trying to prove anything, and he's not trying to hide anything. They feel that he is initiating them into something deeper. This depth is mysterious to them. It's the unknown. This mystery is the feminine in him. That's calling them within. So he's simultaneously asking them to rise. He's calling them forth in initiation, while also calling them within his heart. It's the two ways the masculine and feminine lead in right relationship. In nature, I'll make this the last example. You experience the divine feminine as Mother Nature herself, her beauty radiating as a rose, as a bird, as a sunset. You feel sensual, walking in a meadow, running your hand through the tall grass or the wheat in the fields, feeling your feet in the sand on a beach. Just taking in the perfume of peace in a lavender field. Just surrounded by beauty. And there's devotion to her in all forms. Seeing yourself in all forms. In both the caterpillar and the butterfly. And recognizing your own transformation. The masculine is experienced as the stillness of that sunset, the silence. In between the thunder, the spaciousness of the sky that contains all the stars shining brightly. In her darkness. It's the emptiness of all forms and the fullness of her creation. It's the rest that's ever present, and her dance. That's beating your heart right now. So you see, it's more than just a relationship, how most people think of it as a relationship between a man and a woman. But it's really the right relationship between the masculine and the feminine, where both are honored, experiencing the duality in this expression, in this embodiment, and allowing the full expression of each one. When we reduce this sacred union to sameness, life lacks the attraction. It's the repolarization that brings back the magnetism, the attraction in life. You'll experience this in your business as a magnetism that attracts the right people to your offering, that makes the offering irresistible because it has this gravity that pulls them into your offer. You'll feel this attraction in your marriage, in your relationship with your significant other, where you will be desirable, are re-sparking the relationship. With your kids, this natural attraction where they feel drawn in to the softness of your heart. They feel held. By the pull of your presence. When we're in division, experiencing that division, and we've lost that polarity, when we become depolarized, where the polarity is imbalanced or it's neutralized, then that is when there's the lack of attraction, this sort of dullness, numbness. It's not alive. But when we have that attraction, we feel that spark, we feel that heat. And that's the dance. That can only be lived as the divine union. So when we reduce this down to sameness, then we suppress both aspects of the one energy. Causes gender confusion. It creates mixed roles. It leads to competing for equality. So it's oneness, but it's not sameness. This reduction is often coming from a misunderstanding, a lack of integration. When one simply has the realization that all is one and concludes, well, that means sameness, then what happens is there is not the integration of these of the polarity, because that's what you're integrating, is the divine masculine, the divine feminine is really the fullness of those two poles, where you experience the fullness only because you are the wholeness. So you are both simultaneously, and you get to experience yourself as life, as the dance of duality, while honoring experiencing your energy expressed through whatever role you're showing up in. And you see, because they're no longer competing, because they're no longer fighting, they're no longer at war with each other, they're no longer suppressing one another, there is the union. And this is experienced as balance, the balance of the one. It's not about managing two separate things. It's about integrating and embodying them both as the whole, where they're free to express. And you see how in different moments, different situations, how one comes out more than the other. Another one complements the other. And like this, it's this dance. He leads, she follows. Move left and right. Speed up, slow down. It's this rhythm. This natural rhythm that you're living, where you experience the divine union as the harmony of the whole. You experience it as the dance of duality. You experience it as the fullness of life. And this is what I invite you to live. I'm inviting you to live the fullness of you. You in your wholeness. You in your completeness. You without division. You as the divine union itself. So please join me in living truth.